hear more about your, like, you're waiting for inspiration, or you're waiting for, you know, the muse, or waiting for the voice of the character or a line to come to you. I'm curious about what that, if you could just talk about that, like what it feels like, or where do you think that comes from, or whether that makes you happy or frustrated. I don't know. Because it sure becomes just like a part, as you said, like your routine, your ritual. I guess that's what I'm sort of curious about.
Well, so this is gonna sound cheesy, but I think, at least for me, I write the books I need to write when I write them. So, like, the characters show up when I'm ready to tell that story. So for example, I wrote The Possibilities of Sainthood, which is my book about the girl that I said was really fun. Like, she made me laugh with the really chatty, funny voice. I wrote that when I was really sad about my mother. My mother had just died. And so I think I needed to be in a funny space. And so I was, like, that's where my mind went. And so in some ways, I feel like the character showed up because that's the one I needed at the time. I needed to be in a happier place. So, and I don't think I can, like, I can't write a sad book or a sad character when I'm sad. Like, I have to be in a really good space to be able to handle that. I think writing's really emotional for me. And so I pour a lot of feeling into my characters. And so I think when I'm in a really good place, I can bear a character who's not. And so otherwise I have to do something lighter. But sometimes, I guess, sort of waiting for the voice of the character, waiting for lines to show up, sometimes it can be really frustrating, or just because nothing shows up and you're tired and you still got to get stuff done. And but I would say for the books that I have that have the strongest voices, I think maybe the strongest voices are The Possibilities of Sainthood, and then I wrote this novel called This Gorgeous Game about a girl who was stalked. She was being stalked, and so it's dark. But so I had to be in a really good place to write that one. But the stronger the voice, the easier it is for me to write it. So because then I just know it. It's like they're just a part of me for a while. I almost think of it like, for me, I almost think of writing as it's kind of like acting. Like, my job is to get into the head and the body of the character, like, or just be that person when I'm writing. That is literally how I think about it. Like, my job in the morning is to wake up and have my coffee and then, like, somehow embody that character. And so sometimes it can just be fun and a relief. Like, you just get to be somebody else for a while as opposed to yourself, which I like.
Do you think that's specific to fiction or to YA or middle grade fiction as opposed to, say, poetry or
I can't write poetry, and I've never written fiction for adults, so I don't know what that's like. But I do think YA is pretty voicey. It's one of the reasons why I think I'm drawn to it, because that is sort of my style. I like voices. So, but I don't know that everybody writes this way. I have this really wonderful editor, Frances Foster. She published my first 3 novels, and she was in children's publishing for something like 58 years. She just passed away last summer. And she was just this, like, grande dame of children's literature, and beautiful and funny, but she was very, one of the things that she did was she sort of, like, let me be voicey, I guess. She was like, it's okay if that's what you do, because for one of my books with her, I tried to get all fancy and descriptive and put in all these embellishments about the atmosphere and the rooms, and when we went through the editing process, she edited all of it out, and she was just like, you don't need this. And I was like, Frances, I worked so hard to put all that in there. And she was just like, but it's like, she's like, it's okay to be all voice. She was like, that's just what you do. And she was like, all this other stuff feels like it doesn't need to be there. And so, so I don't know, I guess that's just my style. And I think that you find a lot of styles in YA too, but there are some, I do think voice tends to be very strong in YA because, you know, if a kid picks up a book or if a teenager picks a book and they can immediately hear the character talking, I think sometimes it's easier for us to get into that character's head, or it's easier for us to relate to the story. But I think you do have to be willing to be in a brain where your characters are talking to you and not have that be weird. I mean, that's sort of what... I mean, it's maybe weird for someone to say, I wait for my characters to talk to me in the morning, or...
on the surface, maybe.
So, but I don't know, that's what motivates me to write, is when I can hear them speaking, or like part of what I meant before about how like I can hear the first line, or like I suddenly, like, the first line pops into my head. It's often a line of dialogue, or it's often... in the middle, it might be in the middle of a chapter where characters are talking to each other, but that I tend to be able to just hear what they're gonna say. So I don't know what I would do without that. That's like my rudder, I guess, the voice and the dialogue and how they think. So, because I guess we all do that, right? We have a cadence to how we think, and like, you know, I do, you do. And so some of it is like picking that up in someone else. So if you might be able to describe the person physically, but part of our job is to get into their head. I guess if you're writing first person, maybe not so much if it's third person.